All right, guys, I'm going to show you how to paper mache just a basic face form. Paper mache is a really great tool or material and art form that you can do a lot of things with, and I just want to show you something basic. You start off by adding water to flour and mixing it. You can use other things. You can use watered down glue. You can use wheat glue or wheat paste. You can use wallpaper paste, but I just always have flour and water, so that's just what I resort with. And I've learned that this is actually the best application. So I try and add a little bit less than what I think I need so that I don't put too much water in there, and I kind of want it the consistency of pancake batter. So that's about right. And if I add too much water, I can always add more flour, but you kind of want to not waste your flour. So if you're using something other than a designated face form, you might have to, and you want to get the mold or the shape of it, you might have to either cover it with foil or plastic wrap, or if it's kind of already shiny like this, spray it with like grease spray or whatever, like cooking spray, so that you can get it off when it dries. The next step, I kind of do it a little differently. Some people prefer to dip and then kind of make a little squeegee with your fingers and take all the goo off. I kind of like to do it quicker, so I'll scoop up a pile, kind of rub it together, and rub it all over the form, and just get it covered, mostly because I'm impatient. Then what I do is, this is newsprint. Newsprint is just basically the same kind of paper as newspaper, except there aren't any words on it. You can use regular newspaper and then paint it white afterwards. I just like to use newsprint when I don't have enough time to paint something white as well. It just kind of saves a step. So I'm going to go sort of diagonally in one direction, smoothing it down over all the surfaces. Sometimes if it's a real detailed area, you can use a small piece to kind of press in and get it nice and detailed. But the more you can rub it like lotion, the better details you'll get. I'm going to put it on the sides. You want the sides to be strong too, so that if you paint on it later when it dries and you put pressure on it, if the sides are weak, it'll just collapse. So you want the sides to be clean and strong as well. Pressing it into the lips. Just trying to kind of rub it as much as I can so that I can get as much detail as possible in this. Going this direction. Might even turn my mask around. And I have several different size papers so that if I have to use a small piece, that'll be right there and available for me. All right, so I've done this and covered it almost one full time. You want to cover it 3 whole times in order for it to be strong enough to do anything with. So I went in this direction. Now I'm real quick going to apply some glue, and I'm going to go in this direction. So you're crisscrossing the pieces of paper. That makes it stronger. If it's all going in one direction, it's kind of easy to tear it apart. So if you have it going in all different directions, it's stronger. And if you are having a hard time getting it to conform to the face, just rub it a lot, and eventually the paper will kind of get wet enough that it collapses and kind of falls into the right shape. Pinching around the nose. Okay, so I've got it once in this direction, once in this direction. I need 3 coats of paper before this is strong enough. Otherwise, it's just about as strong as 2 pieces of newspaper. So now I'm going to go in a different direction. I think I'm going to try and go this way. So try and pick 3 different directions that your strips can go in for each layer. You can put the glue on it first, or you can get your paper wet. Some people prefer to get their paper wet and go like this and then stick it on. I just think it takes longer to do. I like to do things quicker. Really rub those areas that have detail. And I'm going to maybe use a smaller piece for this area. Now if there are any areas that are real globby and blobby, like it looks like you blew your nose on it, you can take a dry piece without any glue and just rub it on there, and that should eventually soak it up. Or you can just rub it until it's smooth. It's always a good idea to maybe do 1 extra layer for strength around the sides, because these are kind of like, if you imagine a house, the walls of a house have to hold up the roof, and if the walls are really weak, then it can't hold the roof up. So just putting an extra layer around the sides is not a bad idea. And then, in order to know if you've done it correctly and that every area is thick enough, you can pick it up and hold it to the light. And wherever you see light coming through, right there, put another patch there. This area right here looks about thick enough. The sides look pretty thick. But if I can kind of see the silhouette of my finger shining through, it might not be thick enough. And it's not a bad idea just to make it stronger. It takes just a couple seconds to do another layer. So I've done almost 4 layers by the time I'm done with this. But it'll be nice and strong. So I'm okay with that. Doesn't take long if you just kind of hammer it out. Really rub it in like lotion. The more you rub it, the more detail will show up. Now sometimes this looks like it's not very detailed, but eventually you're going to end up painting this and stuff. So, and if there's a lot of little wrinkles, sometimes just a nice layer that's not, sometimes if you push too hard, it kind of wrinkles the paper. So you also have to balance being firm, but also kind of gentle so that it doesn't get wrinkly. All right. So let's check and see how she looks. All right, that's getting thicker. Maybe the tip of the nose, the tip of the lips, and the chin. Give that one more layer. And again, using smaller pieces for these more detailed areas and areas where you can kind of cover big, broad, sort of where there's little landscape, you can use big, huge pieces. Now, the great thing about this is if you ever wanted to, there's so many applications to paper mache. You could build things off of this. Once you let it dry, you can duct tape all kinds of stuff, horns and everything, and then paper mache over that, paper mache it to it, and you'll have a whole different look. It's really, really versatile and worth looking into. So I'm going to say this is done. One last thing. This stuff can make a really funky smell if you don't dry it properly. So if you were to leave it stuck flat on a surface to dry, any of this paper mache that got under here won't dry as fast and it'll kind of rot. So you want to make sure that you have something under it to lift it up so that air can come through the bottom, so that it doesn't smell bad, because it will smell like throw up, honestly. I'm going to give you guys trays that are like restaurant to-go trays that have big bumps, so you can just set it on there and air will be able to get through. But for home, you just want to stick something under there, let it dry overnight, wash your hands off, make sure that you, whoop, my dogs are barking, make sure that you get this really, really watered down before you dump it down the sink so that it doesn't clog your sink. And wash it off of, it should wash out of clothes, wash off of a counter just with water, because anything that's made with water can be washed with water. So I think that's all I have. Thank you so much.